Yes, for me it's been a wonderful experience. It's been a very emotional time, a very spiritual time as well. The last time I was here before now was in 1993, September, and Israel was a very different place. Now it's just so wonderful to see the nation in bloom. The nation is coming alive, it's blooming. The area of Judea, Samaria is being opened up to tourism. Yesterday, we stood at the high point where Abraham encountered the three angels. It was, to me, just such an emotional and spiritual experience, and a cultural one as well. And from there, we did some other tours. We saw some of the businesses that are thriving in the region, and that was a great blessing as well. I really believe that we need to partner worldwide with these business ventures that are being planted in the nation. It's amazing to see so many things. And also another thing that really influenced me was the meeting the people and the blessing that the people are carrying in this land. It's very special, it's very precious, and I know that God is doing great things among the people here.
You know, the media all over the world, very, very tough against Israel. And when they come to Israel, it's a different. How do you think we can change that? You know, you're coming from England, yeah, and the base of BDS organization coming from England. How do you fight to change that?
I think people need to come and see for themselves. If somebody has the desire to create fake news, for one reason or another, maybe there's another agenda behind all this BDS thing that really needs exposing. Because when they come and they see for themselves and they hear for themselves what is actually happening in the land and how the land was reunited with Israel in 1967, that's where we have to bring people to the point of understanding. And really, I take it now upon myself, I take it as my own responsibility to be a part of this new narrative and to counteract some of the downright lies, misrepresentations that the BDS movement has brought. Let me encourage anybody who is watching, who would like to come. Come and see for yourselves. Come and meet the people. Come and see the compassion that Israel has for not just its friends, but also for its enemies.
But you know, we see a lot of terrorist attacks in Europe, especially in Europe. And it seems like that your government not do enough to stop that and do opposite.
The war that we are fighting there, and this is where it becomes very difficult many times for politicians, because the war that we are fighting in Europe, and really, let's face it, all over the world, is an ideological war. It's not necessarily a political war, it's an ideology of hatred and killing and of the shedding of blood, whether it be innocent or guilty. And this thing is wrong. We have to counteract this ideology. We have to understand where it's coming from, how it was formed, what happened before this ideology was there, and why it is so dangerous at the same time, so that we can move step by step against it.
Let's talk about your country. A lot of radical Islam and control all over the country. What do you do about that?
Yeah, there is many of the people who are in radical Islam there's a quest for identity. Many of them come across as orphans, like they've never been really loved, they've never been really fathered, and they end up in these groups for one reason or another, and it can become a very difficult situation. So what we do, I have a church ministry back in London, and probably 20% of our church is ex-Muslim. In fact, the largest ethnic group within my church is actually Iranian, and they love God, they love Israel, they are great people in themselves, and the difference is in the ideology. We teach an ideology of love, kindness, compassion, and that must never be misunderstood for weakness. There's a difference between weakness and meekness. We are meek, but we are not weak. And the strength that we hold is the strength of God's love. And I believe I've seen it very many times in your people as well. It's just so wonderful to see.
You know, when you open the television and you watch the media and you see what happened in Israel, that Arab people came and stabbed Jew people, what do you think about it, and what do you think that is going to be real peace with people that come and stab every day?
Well, the question I ask when I see things like this, and I see how the government, the nation, and the people of Israel have bent over backwards to try and appease these kinds of people. And I ask myself, what on earth will make them happy? And the only answer that I've received from so many of their politicians is, we believe in the direct annihilation and destruction of Israel. We refuse the right of Israel to exist. And it's just such a strange, crazy ideology. I just can't fathom it. So I salute the nation of Israel for its patience, its long-suffering, and in many times its compassion. I really do. I don't know how. God must be giving you the strength, because I really don't know how you do it.
What do you think about the last resolution that coming from UN against Jerusalem that say that there's no connection between us to Jerusalem? It's absurd, and let's don't forget that is the second resolution.
Yeah, well, I mean, the United Nations, what does it stand for now? It's the largest paper shuffling organization in the world. You can go back decades and look at their failures. Look how they failed in Bosnia. Look how they failed in Rwanda. Look how they failed recently by inviting Saudi Arabia as the organization for women's rights. That's like the fox being put in charge of the chicken house. It's crazy. I don't understand what is happening at the United Nations. So from a political standpoint, it's frustrating. I don't know whether the United Nations has a future.
So maybe we need to close the United Nations.
Well, okay, here's the question to ask yourself, and your viewers as well. If the United Nations disappeared off the map tomorrow, now I'm talking about the headquarters where all this paper shuffling happens, if the United Nations disappeared tomorrow, would the world notice that it had gone? It's a controversial opinion, I realize that, and I respect it, but I really do believe that me, like anybody else, is entitled to that kind of opinion.
I say that because the UN ignore what happened in Israel, and they try to create a new Bible.
Yeah, so where is this agenda coming from? Where is the roots of this agenda?
A good question.
Every nation that you can go back in history, every nation that stood against the creation of the nation-state of Israel back in 1948 has suffered. It's historical fact. I have grown up in a generation that means that you can either be politically correct or biblically correct. You can't be both. And this is the difficulty. For me, I will always side with the Bible, because my God is the God of the Bible. My God is the God of Israel. My God is the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And that's the way it will always be. Now, you can, if you understand my biblical view, then you can possibly understand my political view. But my politics is formed by my faith in God, not the other way around. I have heard, even in London, I've heard Christians talking about, you know, injustice here, injustice there, and you can tell by how they are framing what they are saying, you can tell what narrative they've listened to. And I think it's our job as goodwill ambassadors on behalf of the nation to get out there and really show the people what's really happening. I went down to Hebron yesterday. It was such a beautiful place. Judea, Samaria is just such a wonderful, wonderful land, blessed with all kinds of natural resources, biodiversity, lovely tourist spots, everything like that. And I'm glad that you're just opening up that land now.
And is it different from what you see in the news, especially like CNN?
Very different. I mean, for number one, let me take a small example, right? CNN and the global news media call this land the occupied territories, right? Now, that territory, it's Judea, it's Samaria, before it was ever called the occupied territory. And we went down, I was expecting to see occupied territory. 99% of it is unoccupied. There is so much, you know, oh, they're building this here, they're building that there, all that kind of thing. But like, there's so much free land. There's more than enough land to go around. There's more than enough goodwill to go around. The fact that Jordan lost that territory in 1967, Israel didn't start the war that ended up with them conquering that territory. It wasn't historically, it wasn't Palestinian land, it was Jordanian land. And the Israelis took it from Jordan, and that's that. The rest is history. And I think one of the difficulties that you have encountered in recent years is the fact that for 50 years, the land was left as it was. I don't think that did anybody any favors, because this land is now part of the nation state of Israel. And as a result, I believe, I may be wrong, I never studied geopolitics at university, but I believe that the nation can flourish there. Absolutely.
And this message that you say today, this is the message that you bring from here to England?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are standing, as they say, shoulder to shoulder and hand to hand with the nation of Israel. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.